Elric of Melnibone is a fascinating character to me due to how he influenced the overall fantasy genre. I mean, today we have so many fantasy characters that are not only inspired by his character, but his overall look. Every time I'm greeted by a somewhat effeminate and doomed white-haired hero, I automatically think of Elric. It's kind of hard not to like his design overall, but there are multiple artists that have different takes on the character, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of them. First on the list is Wellen, who didn't do the first rendition of the character, but his works are probably some of the most iconic of the bunch. They have a Frank Frazetta type of energy to them, and I'm honestly surprised that Frazetta never touched Elric, but this is pretty close. I really like his use of one color in the backgrounds. We have one that's red, green, and blue. They have such a good quality to the overall color. Elric himself seems to have a different haircut every time and a different set of armor, which I think does a good job of showing his change over time. One thing that does seem consistent is his almost scantily clad aspect. He definitely shows a lot of leg, and that's a unique aspect to his Elric designs. Also, I'm not sure, but I think Wellen might be the first artist that featured the dragon helmet, which is one of my favorite staples of Elric's design. If I did have anything to critique, I don't really care for how he draws Stormbringer. It just looks like a generic sword. I don't think it looks as cool as some of the other designs on this list either. The next one that we're going to be looking at is in the form of comics with the adaptation of The Sleeping City from Pacific Comics. This is probably the most staggering looking Elric design on this list. Obviously, it's a more stylized version of Elric. It still looks like him, but with a more funky art style accompanying it. He looks like an elongated and surreal version of himself. I don't really hate it, but I don't really love it either. I guess the thing I do enjoy the most out of it is his helmet. The next book we're looking at is the Eternal Champion collection, where we get some awesome art from James Cawthorne and Philip Juliet. There is some gorgeous black and white artwork here, and Cawthorne's art style meshes really well with Elric. He hammers pretty hard down on the element of chaos in the story. I mean, Elric literally carries a shield with a giant chaos symbol on it. Also, he gave him a pretty cool armor set here, even though it's kind of hard to see with the amount of black on it. Philip Juliet also does his usual thing and makes everything look really weird. Elric in this version looks more like an alien or some type of deity, if anything else. He lacks the pupils that make him look more surreal. This is like the one in the Pacific Comics, but done a little bit better. The next one is my introduction to the character overall, and it's from the 2014 Titan comics, where honestly the design is good and all, but I can't really say it does anything for me. It just looks like a generic dark fantasy design, but I do potentially see Cawthorne's armor being an influence to the character. The next one might come as a surprise, but here we have none other than Yoshitaka Amano's rendition of Elric. I remember reading that Moorcock views this as the definitive look for Elric. This is certainly the most pretty that Elric has ever looked, and thanks to Amano's background with Final Fantasy art, he does a great job at making Elric look so beautiful and ethereal. It almost looks a bit too pretty considering how evil Elric can be at times. It's a fantastic version of him for sure. The last one I wanted to look at today is from an artist called Robert Gold. This is personally my favorite version of Elric. These pieces of art are just so eye-catching. I love how different this version of Elric is from the others. He has a gaunt and almost older look in his face. It gives him a much more wise and tired look. He's also seen usually draped in robes here as opposed to the most other versions having him in armor. Also, I love how he draws Stormbringer. The red runes on the black blade look so good. I think the Titan Comics version was probably inspired by this, but I like this version way more. This is honestly one of my definitive versions of Elric. So that's all I have in terms of artists that I wanted to look at today, but which ones were your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments, or if I missed a version you really like, put it down there. Thanks for watching. If you would like to support me, I have a Redbubble link down in the description and bio. Also, I have social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, DeviantArt, Kara, and much more. Thanks for watching.